Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending this meeting. So this meeting is the citizen review meeting for three mayor amendment cases. And the purpose of this meeting is to give an opportunity to the neighbors or residents interested in these applications to have the opportunity to ask questions to the applicants. So basically, it's a meeting between the neighbors and the applicants. So the cases that we have tonight are Mayor Amendment Case Number 2021-0335, Mayor Amendment Case Number 2021-0337, and Mayor Amendment Case Number 2021-0340. So we're going to start with Mayor Amendment Case Number 2021-0335, and the applicant will be making a presentation regarding their application, and then the applicant will be taking questions from the residents.
Uh, So I will just move the mic. Wait, we did that. Might come out a little bit more muffled. So good evening, City of San Luis staff, members of the public, residents. My name is Tom DeBose. My company is DeBose Design Group, located in El Centro, California. For some years, the prior company had offices here in Yuma, Arizona, as well as our El Centro office. And I'm here today to present to you our proposal to the city for this general plan amendment. And we entitle what we're trying to do is a project that will allow folks to live, work, shop, and prosper in the city of San Luis. As an introduction, the SAM Group, my clients, David Liu and Elizabeth Carpenter, who are here this evening, along with myself, is seeking approval of this major amendment to the City of San Luis General Plan to allow for the project of live, work, shop, and prosper in San Luis, Arizona to become a reality. The SAM Group is the largest private landowner in East San Luis and the developer of Southwest Industrial Park, home of the new Regional Center for Border Health, Beliza Phase 1 and Beliza Phase 2, currently in the pre-development stage. SAM Group was founded by David's father, the late Eddie Liu, and the current principals include David Liu, fourth generation Yuma native, managing partner of Hudson Realty Capital, and Elizabeth Carpenter, founder and owner of Long Realty in Yuma. My company, again, we're located in El Centro, but for years we had an office here in Yuma County. So for 25 years, we've been working in both counties doing, providing many services ranging from mapping, surveying, civil engineering, and et cetera. This major amendment and its purpose is to create a comprehensive development plan in East San Luis where residential growth facilities and employment opportunities created through business and expansion relocation. And we hope that the residents will take pride in their neighborhoods, in their live, work, shop, and prosper community. What's our plan? To take advantage of flexible building options when designing a wide range of housing opportunities. Foster distinctive, attractive neighborhoods that will carry on for generations to come. Plan commercial development and schools to provide the needed services to alleviate traffic along Cesar Chavez Boulevard. We want to buffer the residential neighborhoods from the industrial corridors and the employment center. We want to encourage economic development in the San Luis area by creating an attractive live, work environment. Prepare for the ultimate opening of the San Luis to private vehicle traffic and to encourage community and stakeholder collaboration, including but not limited to City of San Luis, Greater Yuma Economic Development, and this GYPA and the other landowners within the area. But first, the SAM group last year elected to allow the city to go forward on their 2040 plan. And then to come in afterward with our request for a major amendment. So in doing so, we wanted to take a snapshot of all of the border communities along the United States-Mexican border and figure out exactly what have we learned from what's existing. And so we did a close-up study of the ports in Otay, Tijuana, Nogales, Arizona, and Mexico, and in Calexico East and Mexicali. First, Nogales, Arizona, and Sonora. You could see the large volume of uses, industrial, residential, south of the border. When you look north of the border, it's much smaller in detail. As we looked at every border crossing along the United States-Mexican border, at best, it may be 20-to-1 of industrial square footage in Mexico, where we might only see 1 square foot on the United States. This picture is just an illustrated, just to show you the volume of development south of the border versus north of the border. Take a look at Otay Mesa, and this isn't a very large picture showing all of the Tijuana area. And this doesn't obviously show all of San Diego, but right there at that border crossing, you could see some industrial south and a little bit of industrial north. Now, when I say a little bit, there's a lot of industrial in Otay Mesa, but not comparatively speaking on an equal or even close to an equal basis of square footage in Mexico, with square footage on the north side of the border. Now let's look at Calexico East and Mexicali. I was involved in the land planning of the Calexico East Port of Entry. We had that land plan designed and improved in 1997. And that today on the north side of the border, where we had set aside 2,000 acres for industrial and commercial only, you could see very little in 24 years has developed north of the border. And in the city of Mexicali, we all know that there are millions of square feet within the community of Mexicali. And about 300 acres have developed north of the border. Our conclusion is, in your 2040 plan, you've got more industrial or employment zoning than will take to fill up in multiple lifetimes. Therefore, what we see as the part of the justification of changing some of that to allow for the continued growth in San Luis along 24. So here's our plan. We did not take all of the land within the Lou Carpenter or the Sam Group ownership and request a change. That change of land is only south of 24th, east of Avenue E, and west of Avenue D, leaving a buffer along the south side where employment, commercial jobs can be created north of 25th, as well as everything on the east side of Avenue D. The SAM Group also owns a small strip of land just north of 24th at the intersection of 24th and D. We are rezoning that to allow for some light commercial. That light commercial would provide a buffer to the residential south of 24th from the city's second wastewater treatment plant. The importance of a project of work, live, shop, and prosper in San Luis, Arizona. The general plan didn't allow for a lot of residential acreage, or doesn't today make it readily available for the home building community, which results in lost potential revenues for the city, no housing available for relocating employers. The current residents in East San Luis also have no access to on-site schools or services necessitating the vehicle travel to the main part of San Luis using Juan Sanchez Boulevard and creating at times traffic delays or long bus ride for the students of East San Luis being bused to the Somerton School. The importance of a project, work, live, shop, and prosper, also will provide medium density residential land use to allow for the various housing alternatives at different price points. The water and sewer connections are already in place with an existing lift station at the southeast corner of 25th and Avenue D. So as rooftops are continually added, more retail and commercial development becomes now viable along that corridor, adding to the San Luis tax base. We've looked hard at the traffic impacts. The general plan amendment contemplates sharing access with the current commercial trucks along Avenue E. The heaviest commercial vehicle traffic month to date was of March of this year, with 233 trucks daily, or approximately one truck every 3 minutes during the hours of the port's operation. Now, we took a little deeper dive today and we looked at the other months of this year, where the month of March total had 4,269 trips. January had 2,468. February had 3,285. We've given you the March. April had 2,899. May had 2,344. And June was 2,344 as well. Avenue E was built to accommodate much more traffic than we see today. The YMPO 2021 study has contemplated for Yuma County, and it clearly indicates that the Port 2 and Avenue E was designed for the commercial traffic as well as passenger vehicles that will someday be allowed. Located about 5 miles from downtown, the San Luis II port of entry was designated to initially process 150 trucks per day with the potential to expand to 650 per day by 2030. The facility was also designed for the potential of adding additional facilities and passenger vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles. I won't go into detail, but this kind of shows you over the period of time, the truck crossings at that port, both empty trucks as well as loaded trucks. And it looked like the peak was around 2019, but again, it's fallen off since then, except for that 1 month of this year that had more than any other month through this study period. We also looked at just a snapshot of what was the largest historical amount empty versus or added to the largest historical amount loaded. Broke that all down, that if we took the highest day ever, which was in 2010 for empty, and the highest day in 2019, it still averages only 136.8 trips per day. City of San Luis long-term traffic plan provides access for commercial trucks eventually to go east along County 25th over to Avenue B. That's the long-range plan. That's what will happen. But until then, Avenue E is built to accommodate most of the traffic and the traffic that we see today and we'll see for the early years to come. Other traffic impacts: the current volume of commercial truck traffic does not warrant retail or commercial infrastructure without some substantial residential development. Other than the medical clinic, the southwest corner of 24th and Avenue E, we're not seeing a lot of activity. We're not getting a lot of phone calls for people who want to go out there. Obviously, the amount of trips today do not warrant that. Schools that are located in East San Luis, if we can build some new schools, and that's our intention, it will reduce the vehicular traffic along Cesar Chavez Boulevard during the morning drop-off and the afternoon pickup time. Can't imagine what's going on in the classrooms of those who are staying in San Luis to go to the Gadsden community because of the challenge of getting those kids up to summertime. To avoid traffic congestion during school drop-off and pickup times, the students will be bused to and from the new school in East San Luis. As a guy from Imperial Valley, I'm astonished and amazed at San Luis's growth. And your building permits have just continued to skyrocket. And yet, and we show in the last column, by the way, in blue, what the projection is based on the permits that have been pulled today. Question mark is what happens in 2022 without any available land of which to build new residential. The box in red is our site. There's a lift station, as I told you, down at the southeast corner of 25th and Avenue D. The city of San Luis is going to need a new water well to service this area. That water well will more than likely come from the Blue Carpenter or the Sam Group ownership on their property that is remaining for employment or industrial use. And we're not just sitting around hoping and waiting. Sam Group is creating other developments in East San Luis. They are in the process of developing a food truck port, which they met with city staff last week on. And so they're trying to move that forward. We are having discussions today with a hotel chain, one of the major international chains, about developing a suites type hotel. In fact, we're meeting with a representative of that hotel tomorrow. We hope to pull in or a tract with new residential growth, satellite grocery store, and it's our intention to provide additional school sites for the Somerton School District. So in summary, the SAM Group and my company are seeking a major amendment to the San Luis General Plan to allow for a planned and comprehensive development. Our project, Live, Work, Shop, and Prosper in San Luis, Arizona, will allow for San Luis's continued growth and development, provide the needed schools for existing residents and their children, and reduce the traffic along congested Cesar Chavez Boulevard corridor. We intend to offer a wide range of housing alternatives, create an attractive live-work environment for potential employers, and to facilitate the SAM Group's continued curation of commercial development. Jobs for San Luis in the future is going to come from manufacturing. And those sources, when they come into town, and it doesn't matter which town they come into, they all ask the very same questions. Where will our people live? Where will their employees shop? And where will the families of those new employees attend school? It's a major attraction in the economic world of trying to bring business in. And we believe that this land plan provides that. And at that point, we're able and willing to answer any questions you might have.
Fernando, we will be passing the microphone. You can please state your name and who you're representing before asking the question.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Fiona George, Executive Director for the Greater Yuma Port Authority, the GYPA analogy that was on your presentation. The question, I suppose, speaking on behalf of the board, the meeting that we had on August 26th, they had discussed this amendment as well as the other ones in question, and they expressed their opposition because the Avenue E corridor was established to cater to the truck and commercial traffic. Being that GYPA's basis in existence was to support multimodal transportation and enhance the economic development, obviously, of the area. Congestion is obviously the biggest problem when it comes to the logistics. Goods flow in the path of least resistance, and they felt that Avenue E was not the safest route for additional traffic, including pedestrians and school crossings. And especially because we have the overweight truck route established in the state of Arizona, which has been an advantage for some users bringing in products from Ensenada Port of Entry and then coming through, bypassing Mexicali because of the fact that they don't want to deal with Caltrans, and then coming through Arizona for the overweight truck route, and because ADOT is a little bit easier to work with. So GYPA is not against growth, not against education. The board merely feels that this is not the highest and best use of the land located near the port of entry for single family homes. And I realize that there was a plan submitted prior to, right? And then there was, you had redone it with the buffer zones on the commercial side, correct?
So our plan provides at this point for the land use, the one buffer that we're showing is the commercial along the south side of the wastewater treatment plant or on the north side of Avenue 24. We are also leaving commercial alone at the intersection because that currently the land use allows for commercial at the southeast corner of 24th and Avenue E. So that will be, that will remain commercial. The balance of the land use is really all medium density residential at this point. And when this is approved, we would come back with a zone change request and a tentative map. And in that, it would be the intention of this land plan to provide additional buffers of higher density adjacent to the industrial uses that we're leaving on the south side of their property and the east side of their property.
Okay, and Ms. Carpenter and I had met in regards to the County 25th extension to over to Avenue B. And I suppose my question would be, would there be like a proposed alternative for the commercial route? Because if you were involved in the land planning in Calexico East and Mexicali, you know, you obviously thought it was smart to include bridges and separate the POV traffic to the commercial. Maybe that was due to volume or whatever the case was back in 1997. But could we implement some type of proposed alternative be in place via County 25th to Avenue B or an Avenue D extension to SR 95 in conjunction when, if and when you were to start to build? Because trucks, semi-trucks and students and school buses, it just, I would hate for an accident waiting to happen. And really, it was just a matter of safety for the board. So would there be some concrete alternative methods or alternative routes, excuse me, when it came to the commercial traffic coming out of San Luis too?
So let me tell you what is concrete. Avenue E was designed for a very high volume of traffic. And the reality is that the amount of trucks today that come across, even in the peak, is only a small fraction of what that road was built for. And then those trucks that are coming across, other than maybe using the warehousing that's there today, I think there's a couple of 3 buildings that are down there. There's no place for them to stop, get services, buy anything. They are on the road and they are on their way north. And I'm not sure what good that does for San Luis, to be honest with you, because they're not capturing anything from those trucks that are leaving. And so I would say our response is Avenue E was designed to accommodate not just the trucks, but the passenger cars that will soon come. And those intersections don't necessarily have to be non-managed over time. I would envision there'll be a stop sign at a certain trigger point. There may be a signal light at a certain trigger point. But look at any border crossing between the United States and Mexico. And when you come across, there's a couple of stoplights there. In Calexico East, there's 2. And so I don't know that it's ever mandatory that a truck can open up and run north without a stop or 2, or certainly it doesn't do any good for San Luis if there's no place for them to stop. And obviously the number of trucks today hasn't warranted somebody to go out there and put a gas station or to put a fast food. That will come with additional development.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions?
Any more questions or comments? Right, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
We'll go with the second item. This is the Mayor Amendment Case number 2021-0337. And this is a request by Core Engineering for the land use change of 20 acres. We have the applicant here who's going to make a presentation.
Good evening. I'm Jonathan Klein with Core Engineering Group. I'm here representing Border Ranches 2, the owners of the 40 acres south of Beleza Phase 1 and 2, which are residential subdivisions currently under development. In order to rezone and provide a buffer to the south and not have industrial right next to residential, we're proposing turning this land into medium density residential so that it can be developed residentially and naturally extend some of the services this way. I think there's quite a bit of industrial along Avenue E, but it sounds like that might be about to change. And we would like industrial traffic not to have to go through those existing residential subdivisions. That's pretty minor proposal, but if anybody has any questions, we'd answer any questions.
Do we have any questions or comments for this case? Thank you.
Very much.
We're gonna go with Mayor Amendment Case Number 2021-0340. And this is a request by Dias Engineering to change the land use destination of 180 acres. And we have the applicant here to make a presentation.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Najih Dias with the Dias Engineering. I'm here tonight representing Rydell's Holding. As you can see over here, we have a piece of property that was recently purchased after it's been sitting there for, gosh, I want to say over 30 years. Mr. Steve Sherrill tried to do something with it for the last 30 years and nothing has really been happening. And I guarantee you now with Mrs. Rydell being in the driver's seat, you will start to see some movement over there. So what we are suggesting here is to convert the majority of that land into residential. And then we are leaving the what's shown in the red there as employment, where we can build, it'll be like a neighborhood shopping center. Right now on the books, we have plans on the corner for a gas station. Just like was mentioned before, we do have some contacts with some people that wanting to put a hotel there and a grocery store. And we are extremely excited that the school is coming. I hear that the only thing that the school is lacking right now, they are trying to find some sewer connection. Help is on the way. So really the main issue, and I don't want to keep repeating the same thing, I forgot the name of the gentleman that did the beautiful presentation. What's your name, sir? Tom, yeah. I think Tom did a hell of a good job. I think he wrapped his arm around it and he explained exactly the reality of things. This land can sit forever and ever, and nothing is going to happen. We talk about employment, we talk about industrial, we talk about commercial. Show me anywhere that you can build a grocery store without having people to shop in that grocery store. Show me a place where you would build anything. When a company comes to town to do manufacturing, the first thing that they ask is, does this community have qualified people? Is there people around? Where can we get the people to work on those factories in the commercial areas that they want to build? So most of the time they will go look somewhere else where they can find people. It's always been talked about, we want to reserve this land for commercial. I think the Port of Calexico is a very good example. They did that. Nothing is happening there. I went there. Just there's few things in there that it's scattered around the border, and the remainder of the land just sits there with nothing. City of San Luis is extremely unique. I've been here in the San Luis area doing things since 1985. My first job when I came to Yuma, Arizona, I was operating the water and wastewater treatment plants for the city of San Luis. The guy that owned the water company, Mr. Young, I remember him way back then. And I've been involved with the city of San Luis, and the city of San Luis at that time in 1985, the population of San Luis did not even get near 3,500 people. But the city of San Luis had the vision, and they welcomed development. They attracted people to come and live and work and do everything that is needed to be done to make it into this wonderful community that we have. And guys, without having homes for people to live, you're not gonna have nothing. You know, you can't have the industry without having the people. I think we have a very, and by the way, and I know that most of the people that are involved in San Luis, they will tell you, we are running out of land for home. We don't have, there is none. You can either go down to the valley where it is, again, I'm really don't like to see homes in the valley. I would like to see lettuce and produce. That's a valuable land there. But even though nothing is happening down in the valley, you know, we have desert land, which is East San Luis. In the early 90s, when we went there and planned the wastewater treatment plant over there, I designed it and built it, as a matter of fact. We did not do it. One of the major things that we had a problem with when we started that wastewater treatment plant is there was not enough flow. Yeah, it's like, what do we do? Well, let's start building. Let's start bringing flow to it. So we have the wastewater treatment plant. As a matter of fact, I got involved with some people that we did the infrastructure there. We built those roads. We built Avenue F. We built 24th Street, you know, and there comes Avenue E. Avenue E, just like Tom mentioned, and we are engineers and we understand this. The amount of traffic that Avenue E is using right now is very small, very little. It's not even, it doesn't even register. You know, we keep talking about truck traffic. We cannot hug a road that is 2 lanes in each way. And you know, in our development, we're gonna add actually another lane to it. We cannot just leave that road, you know, without being used. You know, so it has a large capacity, you know, you know, to handle all of these developments that we're talking about, whether it is the development that Sam's group are talking about or the development that we are talking. We have it, you know, we have all of the infrastructure. We have the water system that was built way back then, you know, water is there, sewers, people are there. People are coming, they're fleeing California to come and live in this beautiful town of San Luis. We really need to welcome these people. We need to build homes for them. And the question, the biggest question that is facing the city of San Luis right now is, do we allow more residential land to happen, or do we stop? San Luis will be like a ghost town if this land does not move forward. You know, we don't have, I mean, the building department in San Luis, planning and zoning, all of a sudden they'll be empty. There is no permit. There is no land, nothing. I mean, it just comes to a stopping halt, you know. And we're not really talking about just home. You know, we're talking again in the commercial area, which is the corner, the one on the west side and the south side. Like the Sam's group, they're gonna do more commercial east of it. we are talking about our gas station is designed ready to go. We actually, in the next, God knows how long, probably in the next few weeks, we will be submitting plans to the city to get a permit on this gas station so we can go ahead and build it. That whole area there is going to benefit from that gas station. We have office buildings that we're going to be building there, the grocery store that we're going to be building there. Look at all of the people that having to drive all the way to town right now. Well, if we have a grocery store over there, they will all be shopping. But that grocery store is not enough. You know, you cannot really put that grocery store just for the amount of housing that is there right now. You need more. So I think we can change this thinking that, hey, we want a road only for trucks. We can change that. We can say we want a road for trucks, cars, vans, for everybody that wants to use that truck. City of Yuma does not have a truck designated, a road designated for trucks. All of the roads in Yuma are being used by everyone, you know. So with all due respect to the people that wanting to leave Avenue E for trucks, guys, you better think. That is a nice road that was built by taxpayers' money. And taxpayers that are benefit. You cannot benefit from it unless we start building in that area. Let's keep San Luis moving. Let's not stop San Luis from moving. And I think those two proposals, along with the one that gentleman from Core presented, they're all viable and they're all good and they're good for the city of San Luis. And let's keep having good people coming to San Luis. I could keep talking, but I'll talk, but anyway, I'll stop. Take some questions. By the way, I wanted to welcome David. How you doing?
In your plan there, it looks like all of your residential streets, they don't go to Avenue E, do they? So
What's the question? I did not hear you good.
your residential streets, do they go to Avenue E in this layout here? Or-
No. So all of our point of access for the entire development will be on 24th Street and 23rd and a half. We are not allowed to access Avenue.
So as long as, develop south kind of that way, then they can keep their Avenue E
Could
corridor,
you
but-
hold the microphone? It doesn't seem to be,
Yeah, take the mask off too.
So I guess this doesn't really conflict with the Avenue E corridor thing. And this would be a way to get around having to not designate it to have a truck route, I suppose, but just a thought in general.
Well, I'm very glad that you raised this point. Avenue E, it was designed with those points of, those 2 points of on 24th and 23rd and a half. And it was really designed for that purpose, is to be able to access, to limit the access to it, to those points, There is a study that it's being done by the city of San Luis right now for the intersection of Avenue E and 24th Street, a traffic impact study. And most likely that study will come in with some recommendations such as signalization or whatever. We are all for that. Anything that improve the circulation of the traffic is pretty good. We've already talked to the city of San Luis, and we want to add an entire lane on Avenue E on the east side of our property there with curb gutter and sidewalks. Yeah, people will go shop there and they will walk to the ice cream shop and everything else that is in the shopping center.
Kind of think truck traffic might increase when the border opens fully after the pandemic, so we might have some issues there, but as long as we plan for them and do the intersections safely, I'm sure it'll probably work out fine.
Thank you.
Jonathan Klein, and from Yuma, Arizona.
So if I understand correctly, then the development that's occurring, if this were allowed to occur, would be a way for San Luis to pay for the improvements they would like to see happen. Because then there would be the taxpayers available for a light, or to, if traffic became increased and trucks needed to have another road to connect to Arabi, that could be done. Is that correct? That the people moving into that area and that area growing would actually afford some of the anticipated cost needs?
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. Actually, if you were to look in general, how does infrastructure happen? Who builds the road? Who builds the water system? Who builds the sewer system? Who builds all of these things? It's normally the developers. When the city of San Luis complete the traffic impact study, and that traffic impact study would, let's just make an assumption, it warrant the traffic signal. City of San Luis will not pay for it. It's the developers that pay. We're gonna pay for it. You know, so the developers are the ones who actually build the roads.
And then the people, when they buy their home or their property, they're paying, that's where the developers get that money back. It comes from the people.
Yeah,
moving in.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the rules. You know, it's like you
Yeah.
develop the land, you build the homes.
And that
the-
becomes a part of
The
the cost.
new people that are coming in will pay for it. The people that are already living in San Luis, it's not gonna come out of their tax. No, it's the people that are coming in. They pay for basically coming.
I'm Laura Knoll. I'm the superintendent at Somerton School District. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. Thank you for clarifying that, because it seemed a little bit backwards to me that it seems appropriate for San Luis to be planning for how big a street needs to be, making sure that the subdivisions that there's place for those industrial commercial areas, that there's place for housing, that those spots do need to be set aside. But I don't think that the whole expense of developing is going to occur before anybody ever goes there. You have to allow those houses to go in order to then be able to afford the different improvements that are going to happen along with it. We would like to bring our schools down to the area. And when we start developing the school, we're looking for sewer access, water access. And we have funds from School Facilities Board and from adjacent ways that we collect in order to do those costs. So when we come into a place, we also improve that place and make it a better place for everyone, because we're helping with the cost of those kinds of improvements. So I don't think it seems like you're agreeing that it's not reasonable to say we're going to have all the money for all those things before we ever start. That's like building Avenue E before there's any traffic to go on it, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it's just what I keep thinking about, which comes first, the chicken or the.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Naja. Thank you, Tom. Great presentation. Nieves Rydell. I live in 1310 Quintero Avenue. And just a comment, when we built Plaza Rydell, there was nothing around, nothing. Everybody thought that we were crazy. There was no schools around. There was not a single house. Everything stopped in 8th. and we're building and they come, okay? So this is like not just us, is the who comes first, the chicken or the egg? Right now, we're working backwards. We have so many families living in the east side and no services whatsoever. And that's one of the reasons that I basically sacrificed 42 acres in keeping commercial instead of houses. I'm not in the business of building shopping centers, but I am in the business of building affordable housing. And even if I say so myself, one of the reasons that the city of San Luis is #1 in the country in affordable housing is for developers like us. We want to continue building houses, but at the same time, we want to be responsible and bring the services that the people need. Just like the city of San Luis is finally building a substation for the police department and the fire department and a regional park, we want to do our part. We want to keep building. And another thing that I want to add, everybody keeps saying, why don't you go down in the valley? It's impossible. The water table is too high. Farmers are not selling their land. And we have prime land in the east, and that's the only way that we can keep growing. And we want to being part of the growth of San Luis. We enjoy being part of the story on the growth and the economic development of the city of San Luis. And basically, we can work together and make San Luis a better place than it is. Right now, it's great, but we can make it greater. We'll work with the Port of 30. We work with the people at the industrial park. Together, we can accomplish everything. But if we want to keep growing, we need for this to happen. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, at this time, I would like to thank everyone for attending the meeting. So these items will be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on September 14th. During this meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission will have a public hearing. Anyone from the public is invited to attend the meeting and speak during this public hearing. The next meeting after that is September 21st. At that time, the Planning and Zoning Commission will make a recommendation to City Council. And then these items will be presented to City Council on October 13th, 2021. So the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings by state law, they have to be at different locations. So the one on September 14th will be here at the council chambers. And the one on September 21st will be at the Cesar Chavez Cultural Center on Main Street. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the Planning and Zoning Department. Otherwise, thank you for attending, and these are the meetings for these items. So this meeting now adjourned. Thank you for coming.